Hello, my name is Navien. I'm a Navien technician. Today we're going to be doing an NPE series water heater flow sensor replacement. The only tool we'll need for today's job will be one Phillips screwdriver, number 2. You'll also need to have your replacement flow sensor. And that's about all we're going to need for today. So before we start today's job, a couple things you're going to make sure you get taken care of before we even do this is, first, unplug your water heater from the wall. Shut off your gas just as a precautionary method, and then we're going to need to isolate the unit from the plumbing system. If you have, like our unit has here, 2 isolation valves, you can shut those off and isolate the unit. If you are unable to isolate the water heater from your plumbing system, you're going to need to go to your main outside, shut off the house, and drain out your house properly, because when you work on this, you will be opening the plumbing and you can cause a leak. So first things first, let's get all that taken care of. Let's go ahead and shut off our valves. Our cold and our inlet is closed off here, so we know the unit's properly shut off. Once we do that, we're going to go ahead and drain the unit down by opening your bleeder underneath the pump. So just let that drip down. Make sure you have a bucket, any rag available, because there will be some water. You may have some spills. You don't want to cause any damage to the home. So this unit's drained. As it's draining, what I'm going to go ahead and do is start taking off my cover. Now that we've properly drained down our unit, we've disconnected the power and shut off our gas, we're good to start removing our flow sensor. So the first thing we're going to do in this process is disconnect your electrical. So you have 2 plugs going into this unit, and they are color coordinated, so you shouldn't have any problem reconnecting them. So you got your red, white, and black, which is your flow sensor, and you have your blue thermistor connection, and the wiring harness is labeled inlet on your thermistor. So once we got that removed, we're going to go ahead and pull off one 27 clip and your second 27 clip. So both your clips are marked 27. Make sure not to lose these. And we're going to just pull out your inlet pipe. You may have a little bit of water that spills down. This is where your bucket and your rag comes into play. We got our inlet pipe removed. We're going to take off our flow sensor. So you have 4 screws holding on your flow sensor to your secondary heat exchanger. So when you remove your flow sensor, you're going to have your O-ring. Make sure your unit does come provided with some replacement O-rings in this kit over here, but if your O-ring is still good, you can reuse it. Just always inspect it anytime you're doing reusing a part. Inspect it for any leaks, cracks, tears, or pinches. We're going to pull out our replacement flow sensor. Also do a thorough inspection on your replacement parts. You're only provided your flow sensor, so you may have to use some of your old hardware and your old O-rings. Just do a thorough inspection that there's no shipping damage, no cracks, tears, or pinches. So what we're going to do again, use my old O-ring, put it back on there, and when you're putting your flow sensor on, don't force it. It should just slide right on. If you force it too much, you may pinch or tear that O-ring, and you don't want to do that. Go ahead and put your 4 screws back in. Our inlet pipe is going to just slide right in there, right into the flow sensor. Also, do an inspection on these 2 O-rings as well on your inlet pipe. You don't want to put anything that's been damaged back in there and create a leak. Then your 2 clips, clip 27 and clip 27. They're the same clip, so it doesn't matter whether you mix match or they're the same clip. So just assure that your clips are properly put on, your flanges all the way up, and you're not going to have a leak. So put the back clip in here. And that's properly set in there. For my wiring harness, there is a little clamp here that fell off. Then we got our 2 wires. We got our inlet wire, which is for our inlet thermistor. Just go ahead, it just gets clipped in, and your flow sensor wire. So that will complete the installation of our flow sensor. From this point on, we're going to reestablish power, we're going to reestablish gas, and we're going to reestablish water. We want to make sure that we do an overall inspection, that everything's cleaned up, we dry off any residual water. As of this point, I would do a pre-test. So before I put the cover on, I'm going to go ahead and establish water. I want to bring this up to water pressure. The reason for that is if there is a leak with the cover, you won't be able to visually see that. So right now, before I even put the cover on, I'm just going to activate water pressure. So we're going to close off the hot, making sure that the water stays only inside here, and slowly crack the cold. So I'm just slowly bringing this unit up to city pressure. You can hear at the moment the air getting bled out of the air water separator on the top of the pump. I did forget to mention that make sure your bleeder underneath the pump is properly closed, otherwise you're going to start spilling water out as you reestablish pressure. So I barely cracked the inlet valve. The unit's slowly coming up to pressure, and all I'm waiting for is any drips or anything to show me that I didn't do a good job. So right now, I see no leaks. I see nothing that would tell me, I didn't want that to be pinched. I see nothing that would tell me that we have any kind of problems. So the next step is I'm going to establish power to the unit. So if you could plug that in. It was in the on position. So establishing power. I'm gonna kind of, any air in the system, just get that out of there. Our final step will be to just activate gas. We did just turn on the vent hood. We are doing this in the lab, so if the noise you're hearing is our vent hood kicking on. Open up all the valves, make sure they're 100% open. So what I'm doing here, with the cover off, I want to just physically inspect to make sure the unit is operating at 100% operation. Make sure there's no leaks, and my entire flow sensor replacement went out fine. So the unit is in operation. I see no drips, marks, or leaks, nothing of the nature. Unit is firing just fine. If you want to see your flow rate, you just push the information, and it'll show. You can scroll between your settings with your positive or minus button, and it'll show you. So right now it's showing me GPM 6.2. What that's telling me is we have 6.2 GPMs flowing through this unit, telling me that my flow sensor is working perfectly fine. And this, now that we've gotten this far, we know that the unit's working fine. Flow sensor is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. We're going to go ahead and turn the unit off, keep the power on, put the cover back on, and we're good to use our water heater.